Alright, here is section 2.3, solving for a variable. Sounds pretty simple, right? Sounds like what we've been doing. This is actually a pretty complex lesson. We got to really start thinking outside the box, being really comfortable with variables. So our essential question, how do you rewrite formulas and literal equations? And we'll see what that really means. In our vocab, we just got one today. Literal equations, so equations that contain two or more variables. We're going to be working with lots and lots of variables today, actually very few numbers and more of just variables. So we've got to get comfortable with them. So we're going to just start off we're going to do about 5 practice problems, and they're all going to be under the same title, just solving for a variable. So we'll do our first example. And it's going to be the equation volume is equal to length times width times height. So L times W times H. And our instructions are going to be to solve for H. What that means is that we want to get H by itself. We want H on its own side of the equal sign. I'll put a little box around H to say we want it all alone. Right now it's on the same side of the equal sign as L and W, and that's not what we want. So the first thing we have to do is we've got to look and see what's happening between our L and our W and our H. We don't really see any operation in there, but we know that whenever we don't see that operation, that it's actually a multiplication. So it says volume is equal to length times width times height. We want height by itself. So in order to undo multiplication, we need to divide, right? And anything that we do to one side, we've got to do to the other. So if we want H by itself, we need to cancel out, or we need to divide by both L and W. We need both L and W to be canceled out. So both L and W. So we've got L divided by L, that just gives us 1, those cancel out. W divided by W, that just gives us 1, that both cancel out. And we get V divided by LW is equal to H. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting whatever variable they tell us to by itself. So this could be our answer. Remember that with an equal sign, with an equation, we can switch the order. Our right-hand side can become our left-hand side, and it is still the same exact equation. So either one of these say the exact same thing and work the exact same way. Okay, you still need this, just go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to erase this and move on to the next one. Okay. Our next one, we are going to solve for V. Solve for V, meaning we are getting V on its own side of the equal sign. We have D is equal to M over V. Okay. So notice I said M over V. But really, what is that M over V? It is saying D is equal to M divided by, right? This is division, divided by V. So you might be thinking, okay, well, we want this V by itself. That's the variable we want by itself. So can we just do something with that M to get it to the other side? No, because our V needs to be in our numerator. We want it all by itself on its own side in a numerator, though, not in the denominator. So we're actually going to have to move that V here. It'll be a little bit interesting. So since this is division, in order to cancel out, use the inverse of division, we'll need to multiply by V, right? This was divided by V. To cancel it out, we multiply by V. Anything we do to one side, we've got to do to the other. So V divided by V is 1. V times D is equal to M. Okay, well, M's not what we want by itself. We want V by itself. So we still got a little work to do. We want V by itself. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to, this is multiplication. In order to undo multiplication, we're going to divide by D. Divide by D. D divided by D is 1, and we get V is equal to M over D. There's our answer. So that's really what we're working on here, is rearranging an equation to get whatever variable they tell us to on its own side of the equal sign. So we've got two more. Two more we're going to go through. If you still need this, just go ahead and pause it. Okay. The next two I give you, you're going to try to work them out on your own. See what you can do on the left-hand side of your notebook. So those two problems are going to be, there's one, solve for t, and we're going to go A is equal to T, L, H. Okay. And the second one, solve for x, and we'll go y is equal to P over x. Perfect. Go ahead and pause the video. You are completing these on the left-hand side of your notebook. Alright, if you are back with me, I'm assuming you've completed these. So I'm going to give you guys the answers. It should be T is equal to A divided by LH. Okay? And this one on the bottom should be X is equal to P divided by Y. If you did not get those, I really urge you to go back and try those again. So to pause the video and try them again, because it's going to get more complicated in just a sec. Alright, you erasing these now? If you don't need it, just pause it. Okay, we have two more to go through. The next example, right? Remember, we're kind of getting a little more complex every time. So the next example, we've got y is equal to mx plus b, and we're going to solve for m. Hopefully you guys noticed this equation. Hopefully. That is the slope-intercept equation, the slope-intercept. We're solving for m here. So I'm going to go ahead and put a box around m. That's the variable we want to be by itself on its own side of the equal sign. So let's move everything else to the other side. Well, first thing we got to move is this plus b, right? We can't separate this term yet, so we've got to subtract b first. This is addition. In order to undo addition, we've got to use subtraction. Those are the inverses. B minus b, those cancel out, gives you 0. And this is the hardest part for students. Y minus b. People get so confused, don't know what to do with that. Just keep them separate. Just write it just like I said. Y minus b. Y minus b. They aren't like terms. You can't combine them. There's nothing else you can do. Just write it out just like it sounds. Y minus b is equal to, and we've still got our mx. So if we think we still want to get our m by itself, we still want that all alone. And then we're thinking about, all right, well, what else do we have to do? So what's happening between our m and our x? Remember, we don't see it, but that's multiplication. So we have to, in order to inverse that, to undo that, we've got to divide by x, x over x, those cancel out and give us 1. And let me write that stuff in purple. A little hard to see what we're doing here. I'm just writing it in purple. Don't need to erase it. Divide by x, these cancel out, because we get x divided by x is 1. And this is super confusing for students as well. They're like, how do I simplify this? What do I do here? It's okay. Just leave it. You don't need to simplify it. It can't be simplified. Y minus b divided by x. Just leave it just like that. You can't simplify it. Is equal to m. Your m by itself, so there's your answer. You're golden. Typically, we want to write the variable by itself first. So remember, anytime there's an equal sign, you can always flip-flop them. So m is equal to y minus b over x. And that's also the exact same answer, exact same thing, just flip-flopped. Perfect. Okay, so even more complicated. We've got one more, just a little bit more challenging. And then we'll have 2 for you guys to do. This one is actually going to have some numbers. So we haven't seen numbers in any of our previous examples. Now we're going to have some. And it's going to be a pretty complex one. So we've got solve for A. So we are solving for A. Okay. And it's x divided by y is equal to 2/3 z times A. And we want to get that A by itself. So I'm going to put that red box around the A again. Just something I like to do. Helps me out. We got to figure out, what do we do with that 2/3? What do we do with that z? So what's happening between these? Let's look. So this says 2 divided by 3 times z times A. Okay. One way you could do it is you could multiply by the reciprocal if you know how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that z first. Okay? Get rid of that z. It's multiplying by z. So in order to undo that, in order to use the inverse, we'll have to divide by z. Divide by z. So z over z, that gives us 1. But this looks super complex, right? What's happening here? So essentially, you are putting the z as the denominator. You're putting it as the denominator. So anytime you are dividing by z, it can just go in the denominator of the fraction. So I'll show it out in two ways. It's going to go in the denominator of the fraction, though, keep that in mind. So x over y divided by z is the same thing as x over y multiplied by the reciprocal. So z over 1, if we think about the reciprocal of that, 1 over z, that would just equal x over y, z, right? If we x times 1 is x, y times z is y times z. So anytime you are dividing, you know that that z is just going to go right in that denominator. So we're going to get x over y, z. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So x over y, z is equal to 2/3 A. Perfect. So we're still working on getting that A by itself. We got to get rid of this 2/3. So in order to do that, we are actually going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is 2 divided by 3. So since it's divided by 3, we're multiplying by 3 and dividing by 2. Anything we do to one side, we've got to do to the other side. So we are multiplying by this. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And we're going to be left with just A. And if we look at this fraction, 3 times x, 3x. 2 times yz, 2yz, is equal to A. Now remember, typically you write the A on the left-hand side, you write the alone variable on the left-hand side, so we are going to flip it. You can do that with equal signs. A is equal to 3x over 2yz. And there we get our equation there. Awesome. So it's the last example I'm going to do with you guys, so I'm going to give you 2 to work out on your own. On the left-hand side, if you still need this, just go ahead and pause the video. But I'm going to give you 2 to work on your own. So these are 2 to work on the left-hand side under the same title. So you're going to solve for A, and we're going to solve for B. X is equal to z A plus y. Okay, you are solving for A. And then solving for B, let's go. Y over z is equal to 3/5 xb. Perfect. Okay, so pause the video. You are completing this on your left-hand side. This is an x, not multiplication. Completing this on the left-hand side of your binder. When you are done with this, you are done with this section of 2.3. You can move on.